horned monstrosities with mouths full of razor-sharp teeth coated with severed, rotting flesh. Their dread wings spread wide, blotting out the light. They inhabit fiery pits, plains of noxious gas, or haunt the earthly plane, looking to find, enslave, kill, pervert, or torture their next victim. You could call them monstrosities, but most would call them demons. You may think that people who believe in demons only inhabit the fringes of our societies, but you'd be wrong. Belief in demons is widespread, and I intend to show you that this belief can have political and social consequences. For example, in a 2012 public policy polling survey found that, quote, while only 44% of Americans over 65 years of age surveyed by PPP believed in demon possession, 57% of Americans 47 to 65 did, and among the youngest group surveyed, Americans 18 to 29, 63% believed in demon possession. The demographic trend line seems obvious. And according to Gallup in 2016, 61% of Americans believe in the devil, and 12% aren't sure. Belief in demons is far from fringe. It's mainstream, and it can affect people's lives politically and socially. And in this video, we're going to explore some of the history behind demon belief, as well as look at some of the modern-day ramifications that belief can have. But before we do that, I just want to say that I hope this will be the start of a new series on my channel. So, if you enjoy it, I'd be extremely grateful for a like and a share. If enough people seem to like it, I have loads of ideas for upcoming videos. These types of videos take a lot of research time, and while they're also very rewarding and fun to make, they take a lot of work and are rarely monetizable. Any and all feedback and help is greatly appreciated. With that being said, buckle up as we make our way into the realms of demons. Where did the belief in demons start? Well, as far as I can tell, the first demons seem to pop up in Sumerian and Akkadian culture. And although demon belief may date back to before that time period, this seems to be the first recorded history of such beliefs. Quote, Sumer was the southernmost region of ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq and Kuwait, which is generally considered the cradle of civilization. The name comes from Akkadian, the language of the north of Mesopotamia, and means land of the civilized kings. The Sumerians called themselves the black-headed people, and their land in cuneiform script was simply the land, or the land of the black-headed people. And in the biblical book of Genesis, Sumer is known as Shinar. You may have heard of the most famous Sumerian ruler, Gilgamesh, who is known for his poem Epic of Gilgamesh, which inspired Greek and Roman myths and was later recycled, and used in the story of Noah. However, it should be noted that many of the demons found in this region and time period weren't necessarily evil. In fact, they weren't even known as demons, but were simply spirits or deities. The word demon doesn't come about until much later and is derived from the Greek word daemon, which means spirit. Pazuzu is a good example of a Sumerian demon. He was often invoked to protect pregnant women and infants from the evil machinations of the demon goddess Lamashtu, but was also thought to be the living personification of the south wind and southeast wind, which brought pestilence and disease. Pazuzu, like most, or even all, of the ancient Sumerian and Akkadian demons and deities, weren't simply good or evil, but were often a combination of both. They could be invoked to protect, but could also do great harm. People also thought that these demons could be sent by greater deities to punish or remind one of their duties towards a certain god in that region. Fun fact, Pazuzu is the demon who possessed Linda Blair in the 1973 horror film The Exorcist. And some modern-day pagans, such as my friend Callan, who helped me out greatly with the writing of this script, believe in demons. She was also kind enough to lay out her criteria for what a demon is to her. Basically, a demon is a lesser spirit that, 1. tends to be bound to a geographical location, 2. tends to make contract-like agreements with people, 3. can possess people, 4. can be malevolent but tend to be neutral when it comes to dealing with people, 5. can be exorcised. And these demons, or spirits, differed wildly in terms of how they appeared. The protective spirit Lamassu, for example, was often depicted as having a human head with the body of a bull or lion with wings, while Liltu began as a female wind spirit and was often depicted with wings and bird talons in place of human feet. She would later appear in Jewish folklore as Lilith, first wife of Adam. There she is depicted as being the physical or spiritual embodiment of lust, a wicked seducer of men. And oh yeah, She's also a child-killing demon who refused to lay underneath Adam. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. First, I want to point out that belief in demons is widespread, and throughout recorded history, we see it pop up in other religions, time periods, and regions. Let me give you a few examples. In Islam, for example, you'll find the jinn. The jinn are lesser spirits or demons that are able to assume animal or human form, albeit extremely ugly human forms with cloven hooves, and they can reside under stones, in trees, or within or around other inanimate objects. They're feared and often blamed for all sorts of foul happenings, such as demon possession, accidents, or outbreaks of disease. There are also shaitans, who were often depicted in pre-Islamic times as the most powerful of jinn. They wielded stronger powers and were smarter than the average jinn spirit. Iblis in Islam is the personal name of the devil, basically Islam's version of the Christian concept of Satan, and he too supposedly belonged to the shaitan class of demons. Hindu mythology also includes demons. There are nature spirits called yakshas, and demons called rakshasa. Rakshasa are supposedly able to change their shape. They can appear as animals, grotesque monsters, or beautiful women. They are led by their 10-headed, 20-armed king, Ravana. In other words, if he was a D&D villain, he'd get 20 attacks per turn minimum. You're done. Just hand in your character sheet. In Buddhism, you can find the manifestation of spiritual evil in the form of Mara, who was said to have tempted the great Buddha on several occasions, while he tried to attain enlightenment. At one point, Mara, quote, sent forth a great storm of rain, rocks, ashes, and darkness, frightening away all the gods who had gathered to honor the future Buddha, end quote. Gods scared away by rain and rocks? Hulk would have said,
puny god.
But you get the picture. Belief in demons has been around for a long time, and that belief has persisted all the way up to present day. However, particularly in the West, the idea of many gods and the varying attitudes of demons, which previously had ranged from good to evil, has been suppressed or distorted by Christianity. So what happened? I think this quote sums it up nicely. Quote, the evolution continued into the Hellenistic period of Mesopotamian history, and carried on into the Christian period. The Christians no longer had a need for protective demons, and, of course, reliance on earlier religious beliefs was discouraged by the new faith. Demons, along with the old gods, had no place in the heaven of the Christian God, and so were relegated to the Christian hell. Demons were already associated with the underworld, and just as it was an easy step to turn the pagan afterlife into a hell of punishment, so it was to make demons agents of that eternal punishment, as well as difficulties and dangers during one's life. The Gospels of the New Testament depict Jesus Christ routinely driving demons from various individuals, and the books of Acts, Revelation, and others describe demons in the service of God's adversary, Satan. In the letter of John in the New Testament, the writer admonishes his readers to test every spirit to see if it is of God, and to reject it if it is not. Demons were thereafter considered only as agents of evil, and capable of good save only inadvertently in serving God's overall plan. Pazuzu, an ancient Mesopotamian figure of fearsome aspect, was of the perfect choice as the antagonist in The Exorcist, as the audience had been primed through almost 2,000 years of instruction to accept the ancient demon god as an instrument of evil. To the people of his day, however, Pazuzu was regarded as security and a shield against misfortunes in an uncertain and often frightening world. End quote. As noted above, Christianity draws heavily from pagan roots. Even the idea that Satan is a horny, horned, half-man, half-goat is taken almost wholly from Greek mythology, where you'll find the Greek god Pan, a fertility and nature deity. But why does this all matter? Well, like I said at the beginning of this video, demon belief matters. It shapes the perceptions of the people who believe in them, and that can have various consequences ranging from the mundane to serious. For example, in the 1980s, the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons kicked off what is commonly referred to now as a satanic panic.
It began as a cult phenomenon, then it caught on. Now a new game is sweeping the country.
You will burn forever and ever in eternal torment. You are no more.
The role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons debuted in 1974. It became a hit with many adolescents, but critics claimed it was an invitation to devil worship.
The witchcraft, the demonism, the spells.
And worse.
It is not fun and games.
The media set off a satanic panic.
A lot of adults who think it's been connected to a number of suicides and murders.
That connection has been largely debunked.
And belief in demons is referenced and talked about in American politics.
Years ago, when we first met him and he was considering running for president, there was a great preacher there. I don't want to say his name, but he is nationally known. And he said something to you, I don't know if you remember. He said, I want you to understand, Mr. Trump, that if you choose to run for president, there's going to be a concentrated satanic attack against you. He said this over 5 years ago. He said there's going to be a demon, principalities and powers are going to war against you on a level that you've never seen before. And I'm watching this every day. So we're going to pray for him.
He looked at that and he was so angry when they were talking about him, and his people are angry at him, and they should be. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil. It's true.
Democracy in a big, diverse country doesn't work if you constantly demonize each other. And I mean that literally, by the way. I was reading the other day, there's a guy on the radio who apparently Trump's on his show frequently. He said, me and Hillary are demons. Said we smell like sulfur. Ain't that something? Now, I mean, come on, people. Democracy does not work if you just say stuff like that. And apparently there are people who believe that stuff. And they're listening to it constantly. And you can't have leaders who are promoting that, because what happens then is we get so divided and people are so angry at each other that then nothing gets done.
Even though Obama is laughing it off in that last clip, the idea that he and Hillary are literally demons who smell like sulfur was believed by enough people that he felt compelled to address it. At the time, the person who said that, Alex Jones, had millions of subscribers on YouTube, and his reach was considerable. It still is, frankly. Then you have this story, where a pastor was accused of sexually assaulting men as part of an exorcism ritual. Quote, Weaver, 69, would allegedly tell the men that he needed to suck out demons through their semen, citing Native American rituals and a verse from Ephesians telling Christians to put on the full armor of God. According to impact statements, the men submitted to the presbytery of Elizabeth, which has jurisdiction over the church in Linden. Weaver would order each to strip naked and lie down. Then he would place an angel coin on their foreheads and have them bounce stones on their hands and ankles. Weaver would then allegedly perform oral sex on them. End quote. In this story of a woman who was just sentenced to 25 years in prison after she left her 3-year-old daughter in a hot car for nearly 10 hours to cleanse her of, quote, lustful demons, end quote. But demon belief doesn't just play out in America. For example, in Egypt, Christians and Muslims will sometimes work together to exorcise demons, also known as jinn. In Kenya, widows can have their children threatened, and they can be raped to cleanse them of demons. In Canada, 19-year-old Walter Zapita was strapped to a metal chair and forcibly confined in a basement apartment he shared with his family, until he died of dehydration after losing 9 liters of fluid. His father and his father's friend were sentenced to just 4 years in prison, and his mother was given a single day. Quote, Mr. Zapita's lawyer, Andy Ratty, told the court his client takes some solace in his belief that, in the hours before Walter's life ebbed away, the devil also left his body. When Walter died, he believed that he returned to Jesus, Mr. Ratty said. Although he still believes in the rightness of the ends he was trying to achieve, he understands the wrongness of the way he went about it. End quote. In the UK in 2017, the government believed that nearly 1,500 child abuse cases per year were linked to beliefs about witchcraft and demonic possession. And these stories are everywhere. They're happening daily, and they're happening worldwide. Many of us like to snicker at people who confess they believe in demons. We like to dismiss them and pretend they're only a fringe element. But in a lot of cases, that simply isn't true. Belief in demons matter. Hell, excuse the pun, beliefs matter. And a great deal of the time, the way we perceive and interpret reality is more important than what's actually true.
Now you're mine.